Yo, we need to talk about the biggest ransom note in the history of Formula One. Seriously, most people out there, they bought the PR version. You know, the official press release fluff. The story that says the 2026 regulations changed to make the cars greener, or more sustainable, or whatever buzzword was trending that week. That's the brochure version. That's what they sell to the sponsors. But if you want to understand why Mercedes, Ferrari, and Alpine are literally burning through hundreds of millions of dollars right now to redesign their engines from scratch, you gotta look at one single meeting. One ultimatum. Audi walked into the room with the FIA and Liberty Media, and they basically put their cards on the table in a way that, honestly, is kind of gangster. The vibe in the room was clear. Either you kill the MGU-H, or we don't sign the check. And F1, the billion-dollar sport, the pinnacle of motorsport that claims it never bends the knee? They blinked. They folded. Now, for the casual fan, this sounds like technical alphabet soup. MGU-H, MGU-K, ICE. Who cares, right? As long as the car is fast and loud. But here's the secret that changes the whole narrative. By forcing the death of this one specific part, Audi wasn't just simplifying the engine. They were committing a strategic murder. They were wiping out 10 years of Mercedes' dominance in one signature. And the big question keeping me up at night is, did we just hand the keys to the kingdom to Audi before they even turned a wheel? To get why this was such a massive power move, you gotta understand what the hell the MGU-H actually was. And I'm not gonna give you the boring engineering lecture, I'm gonna give you the trackside breakdown. The MGU-H, motor generator unit heat, was, no joke, the most insane piece of tech ever put in a race car. Think of a turbocharger. It spins with exhaust gas, right? The MGU-H was an electric motor strapped directly to that turbo shaft, spinning at like 125,000 RPM. That is mind-blowing speed. It did some black magic stuff. It took heat that was being wasted out the exhaust, turned it into electricity, and sent it straight to the battery. Kept the turbos spinning so there was zero lag. Result? Instant torque. Thermal efficiency over 50%. That part is the reason Mercedes went on that 8-year winning streak. They figured out the MGU-H before anyone else. They mastered the art of harvesting heat. But there was a problem. A massive, expensive, annoying problem. The MGU-H was totally irrelevant to the real world. You aren't seeing an MGU-H in your Audi Q5. You aren't seeing it in a Tesla. You won't see it on the 405 freeway in traffic. It was pure F1 sci-fi. Complicated, prone to breaking, and it cost a fortune to develop. It was a barrier to entry. And this is where Audi got smart. Like Silicon Valley VC smart. Think about it. If Audi decided to jump into F1 in 2026 keeping the current rules, they'd get absolutely smoked. There's no other way to put it. Mercedes has over a decade of data on MGU-H heat management. Ferrari spent years getting beat up until they learned how to make theirs work. Honda almost destroyed their brand reputation, with McLaren trying to keep that thing from exploding. If Audi entered that game now, they'd be playing catch-up against rivals who have already beaten the game 10 times over. They'd be spending $1 billion just to be the slow team on the grid. They'd be the new Toyota of the 2000s. Huge budget, zero results. And no corporate board in Germany is signing off on that. The VW Group doesn't play to participate. They play to dominate. So the condition was technical, but the effect was 100% political. Get rid of the part you guys rely on, and we're in. By agreeing to ban the MGU-H for 2026, the FIA effectively took all that knowledge Mercedes hoarded and threw it in the trash. Those terabytes of telemetry from the Lewis Hamilton dominance era? Useless. That secret sauce Ferrari found? Obsolete. In 2026, with the new rules focusing just on the MGU-K, kinetic, and the combustion engine, everyone goes back to square one. It's the great equalizer. It's a hard reset. And for a startup team like Audi, that's not just a helping hand. That's the only way they survive. But hold up. The plot thickens. There's a detail a lot of people miss because they're too focused on the engine noise. Without the MGU-H, how does F1 make up for the lost power? The answer is raw electricity. The new 2026 regs mandate a power split that's almost 50-50. Half combustion, half electric. The electric motor, MGU-K, is jumping from 120 kW to 350 kW. That is a monster jump. It's almost tripling the electric output. It requires a way bigger battery, way heavier, and the software management has to be next level. And here's the irony. Who has spent the last 15 years obsessed with high-performance electric motors and battery management in racing? It wasn't Ferrari. They were trying to fix their F1 engines. It wasn't Red Bull. It was Audi. Look at their resume. They crushed Le Mans with the R18 e-tron Quattro, hybrid diesel-electric tech. They were pioneers in Formula E, running a factory team and developing urban electric powertrains for years. The VW Group is dumping billions into the electric platform for street cars, the Porsche Taycan, the Audi e-tron GT. While Mercedes F1 was refining a heat technology that is now dead, the MGU-H, Audi was in the lab learning how to dump 350 kW of electric power onto the asphalt without melting the rear tires. There is a very real chance, and this is what's wild to think about, that Audi might actually know more about making a 2026 car work than the teams currently on the grid. They swapped a game they couldn't win, heat recovery, for a game where they are the experts, electric torque and software. That, my friends, is a masterclass in corporate strategy. Now you're probably asking, why on earth would Mercedes, Ferrari, and Renault agree to this? Why would they agree to throw away their advantage? The answer has a name. Red Bull powertrains. F1 politics is fascinating because it creates the weirdest alliances. Audi wanted the MGU-H gone because they're rookies, but Red Bull, the mighty Red Bull, they wanted it gone too. Why? Because Red Bull is technically a rookie engine builder too. They're building their first in-house engine for 2026 with Ford. Trying to build an MGU-H from scratch without Honda? That's an engineering nightmare for Christian Horner and his crew. So you had this weird alignment. The biggest team on the grid, Red Bull, and the biggest future threat, Audi, shook hands in the boardroom. Kill the MGU-H. Mercedes and Ferrari were outnumbered. They had to swallow that pill for the good of the sport, to attract new manufacturers. But don't get it twisted. Toto Wolff wasn't stoked. Fred Vasseur wasn't happy. They lost a weapon, and that's why the paddock rumors right now are spicy. Word is that Mercedes, with a chip on their shoulder, has already found something special in the new combustion regulations. If they can't win on heat, they want to win on the explosion. The Cold War of development has already started, and we haven't even seen the cars yet. But look, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for Audi. And here I gotta take off the strategy admirer hat and put on the skeptical analyst hat. There is a massive risk in this play. When you force the sport to change the rules to suit you, you put a giant target on your back. The pressure isn't, let's see what Audi can do anymore. The pressure is, they changed the rules, so they better win. If Audi shows up in 2026 and the car is slow, if they have reliability issues, if the Red Bull Ford engine is better, or if Mercedes shows up with a rocket ship, the narrative flips instantly. From strategy geniuses, they become the arrogant manufacturer who thought they could buy F1. And we gotta remember, building an engine is one thing. Building an F1 chassis is a whole different beast. Audi bought Sauber, and with all due respect to Sauber's history, they haven't been a winning operation in a long time. Transforming the culture of a midfield team into a war room capable of winning championships takes time. Audi money builds facilities, sure, It hires Nico Hülkenberg, it hires Gabriel Bortoleto, which is a great mix of youth and experience. But money doesn't buy culture. Money doesn't buy that telepathic connection between the aero guy and the engine guy who have been working together for 10 years in Brackley or Maranello. By killing the MGU-H, Audi solved the engine problem. But they still have the car problem. And in 2026, with active aero and shorter, narrower cars, the chassis is going to be tricky. What we're about to see in 2026 isn't just a rule change, it's a philosophy test. On one side, you got the purist teams, the racers, who developed tech organically for decades. On the other, the corporate giant that used its political leverage to level the playing field before even stepping into the paddock. I look at this situation and I see two possible timelines. In timeline A, Audi's bet pays off. Their electric knowledge crushes the competition, the engine is bulletproof, and they're fighting for podiums in year one, proving the death of the MGU-H was necessary. In timeline B, we get Toyota 2.0. A ton of cash, endless meetings, heavy politics, and a car that runs in the midfield, getting passed by privateer teams that just go racing better than Audi does meetings. Killing the MGU-H was Audi's first win. It was a boardroom win. It was a win on paper. But from now on, the pen doesn't matter. Now it's about the stopwatch. Now it's about the asphalt. And Formula One has a funny way of humbling people who think they're smarter than the sport. Now I want to throw this grenade into your lap. I know a lot of you guys are hardcore engineering fans and you love the complexity of the MGU-H. And some of you just want better racing, and thought that tech was way too expensive. What's your read on this? Was Audi genius for forcing this change, or are they underestimating the hole they're digging? And more importantly, in 2026, Race 1. Where do you put Audi? Podium? Points? Or back of the grid? Drop a comment below. I'm gonna pin the boldest prediction. Or the craziest one. And if you vibe with this kind of analysis that doesn't just look at who won the race, but looks at the money and politics behind it, you know what to do with that subscribe button. Catch you on the next lap.